welcome to the NFT Jungle. I am Emma, aka Nifty Meta Girl, and joining me today is
Jaden, aka Boss Mom 99.
And we are here to talk NFTs. We like to share our collection updates with you, and we have some related to gen art. And we're going to break these into a couple different segments just to kind of let you know what we're purchasing and what we're seeing in the generative art space, but also to not make this an overwhelming viewing. So we're excited to talk a little bit about what we've been collecting, what we've been watching, what we've been selling. So hopefully you can get something helpful out of this. So as you know from some of our previous videos, we've been very active in the one-of-one art space and enjoy that very much. But both of us got our start in NFTs in the generative art space, so we both still like to keep up with that. And when you start breaking it down, it's kind of amazing how many communities and how many projects are happening. And so both of us, as you probably know, are really, both of us are very active in the female space, be there female art, female focused. And that is something that has continued with our collecting habits, both with gen art and the one-of-one space. We are actually going to cover 7 different projects today. We're going to be talking about Women and Weapons. We'll be Flower Girls, 1989 Sisters, Boss Beauties, Eyes of Fashion, Pixie Jars, and Meta Angels. So we've got quite a few to cover. So these are each projects that have been a lot of fun to be involved with the community, but also to be able to just see kind of what they're creating, what their teams are doing, and to be able to track as time goes by.
Yeah, it's always really cool to see the advancements that each of these projects are taking space after we've been into them for so long, because a lot of them we either minted or joined pretty close to mint. So it's really cool to see these missions being achieved and all the different
roadmaps being
met and all the different steps up that they're taking in the community. Like, we see them being more and more involved in the NFT space, and it's really cool because, like we talked about in our previous episode with 101 projects, like, we follow people that are kind of in similar or sometimes we find artists from similar artists, and then it's really cool to kind of see how they are also involved in this PFP space.
Absolutely. And Women and Weapons is one of the early PFP projects that we both participated in, and it's actually probably the project that I had the most connection with as far as helping me connect with one-of-one artists that I started collecting in that space, both with photographers and with digital art. So I love how active they are in the community and how supportive they are. And so for those that don't know about Women and Weapons, just briefly, it's a 10,000 piece project, and all the artwork is created by an artist named Sarah Bowman, also known as Sparky. And this is a project that Gary V got behind really early on. Sarah actually had created one-of-one pieces prior to creating this gen art project. And Gary V bought up her one-of-ones and really encouraged her to do a gen art project, which she did and has had great success from. It sold out right away, has had tons of support behind it, and they just keep going and going and going. A portion of all of their primary and secondary sales go to the Milena Fund, which is to promote education for women, so very female focused there. They also have a patron wallet that they collect a lot of female art from different artists in the space. But really recently, it's a project that I just kind of keep my eye on, and the price does change quite a bit. The difference between the floor price and the average sale price can vary quite a bit. So watching that floor price, and occasionally you get a rare one that is priced really low, that's a great opportunity to pick that up. So I watch different traits that I like or rare traits, and when you see an opportunity to be able to scoop it up, it's a great time to do so. And so that's actually why I purchased the most recent ones. I purchased number 2716 because she has gold weapons, and also I found it really interesting that Gary V actually minted her. So as the space continues, I think that who individual pieces are connected to, the provenance is going to be important. So at the time, the floor I believe was around 0.5, and I paid 0.6 for this particular one. I think she's aesthetically really, really pleasing. I love the mint background, and the gold weapons are a unique trait because it's the artist's favorite trait. And then also having that connection to Gary V made it pretty special. And then I also purchased 2588, and it again was a little bit more expensive, but the rarity was something unique with her pixel glasses and her purple wrapped hands, and I didn't have one that had either of those traits, so I felt like it was a great one to pick up. And right now, something that they've done really recently is they've granted the IP rights to all the holders. So they're really encouraging people to use the likeness of their PFPs that they hold, or their art pieces that they hold, to be able to use those in developing products. So it'll be really exciting to see where that continues to grow. Yep. And they've been working as a team really hard to build partnerships to hopefully be able to maybe do a Marvel comic or an animated series using the likeness of the different artwork, and they're also working on a second generation. So lots of fun stuff to see from the team. Again, they're extremely active in the space and extremely supportive of art. So that's something that even though the floor price or the average sale price might vary quite a bit at different times, I feel like for me it's one that I don't mind holding long term just to see how things go. So,
well, obviously I don't either, because it's the first one that I have bought into, and I am still holding on to her. She's still proudly my PFP, but yeah, this one is one that I always really love to follow because, for one, it's so fun. They share so many behind the scenes, and so many parts of their project are personal to them. So like you shared, it's her favorite, and some of them they're based off of coworkers and stuff. So I think that's really cool. But too, it's just really fun because whenever they fulfill part of their roadmap, they have like almost a big celebration. So they just recently also did their merch store that's been in the works forever, and it was really cool to see all that take place in the celebration they kind of had for it.
Yep, I completely agree. And so currently this particular project is at 0.19, which is the lowest the floor price has been in quite some time. And they hold 4,700 unique owners, which is great. But if this is something that interests you, their Discord is extremely active. I would encourage you to jump in and see if it's a good fit for you. But it's a really reasonable price point compared to what it has been in the very recent past. So again, I'm super happy to watch, and I'm just one of those people that really likes details, so that's probably why I like the gen art projects too. So learning about the different traits and seeing how they fit together to find the rare ones is something it's kind of like collecting. For me, it's like collecting ball cards, and I never got into that quite as much, but with the gen art projects, that's something I get really excited about.
I agree completely, because it's something I've always really done or really enjoyed is connecting with people and like speaking with people, and it's so cool because with one-of-one art, you can do that really easily. So it's really cool how these artists tie that into their PFP projects as well. And Sarah is one, or Woman in Weapons is one that does that just so well. Hearing the different traits and how they portray into her life is so cool. So.
Absolutely. And another one that is very centered on the art is the Flower Girls, and this is also a female artist, and this project minted back in November, so it has been around for a little while, but the team is really ambitious with what they're creating, and they just keep going hard. They have a very active, very supportive team. They do a lot with holding Twitter spaces and different AMAs in their Discord, and they've developed out this whole program to incentivize you to hold your particular gen art pieces, but the project itself, it is so detail oriented at this point. It is a lot to keep up with. So they just recently are starting to launch their seed project, which is going to be incentivized by holding your girls, and so keeping them from you can list them, but you can't list them at floor to be able to receive the seed, and then there's all kinds of airdrops and all kinds of details. So I hold 2, and this has been a project I've kind of had some fun with it as the floor increased and the opportunity to sell arose. I did, because for me, with a lot of my gen art projects, I like to watch that, and I might have 1 or 2 that I'll sell, and that way I can at least recoup what I've invested, and that way it gives me a little bit more flexibility in holding some of them for the long term. So I'll watch, and I might, if there's the opportunity to, I usually always mint 3 or 5, depending on what the project is and how I kind of feel the team is going to succeed. And that way I have the flexibility to be able to sell a couple and recoup that cost. So that way I don't feel bad about holding it for the long term, or I don't feel like I haven't invested anything usually. And that's kind of how this project worked as well. I was lucky enough to mint a really beautiful one that's ranked 437. And then I minted 2 others, which I then sold as the opportunity presented itself. And then I actually went above what I had spent in the mint. So I actually purchased a couple more that were more rare, or more what I thought were maybe had traits that were sought after. And so I actually have sold several others along the way. And I still hold my original, but also have purchased another one. And the traits are really fun in this one too. And the community gets really involved with the different traits. I honestly, to tell you the truth, I do not understand the seed portion to the extent in which I should, to be able to educate anyone off of it. But I know that they're very excited about it, and it has a lot of really interesting details. So for a project that includes staking, but also is really focused on the art and very supportive for women in the space, it's one that you can look at getting into. And it's also, they're very, very supportive of children's art. So actually 20% of their primary and secondary sales go to charities that support children's arts, which is related to the artist being a art teacher in real life and something she's really passionate about. But they're also a very, just a rewarding community in general, because with each of the airdrops that they send you, so for each holiday, they've sent multiple airdrops based on the number that you hold. And then also they did a spring token, and the different ones that are a surprise, but the artwork with them are always really, really pretty. And they also have the opportunity that you can trade them on the secondary if you choose not to hold them.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, that this is one I've been watching forever, and I just haven't made the dive in to buy. But I really, really love, but I always love seeing the different airdrops that they send out, because they put so much time and effort into different ones, especially for owners that hold more than one piece. Yep. And it's really cool how unique they are, and just to see how well they play into one another, but how unique they are is just really cool to me, really incredible. I say cool a lot. I'm trying to stop that, but...
Well, in this, if it is something that you're interested in getting into, their floor price for quite some time was around 0.6, was a pretty normal amount, and then the average sale price was closer to 0.8, and currently it is at 0.28, and they have 4,100 unique owners. So still a good spread there for the long term, and an opportunity that also, again, that's when the price is down, it can be that opportunity to watch for rarity. And with the Flower Girls, it's really cool because they actually include the rarity ranking in the description for the item, and that doesn't happen on most gen art projects, but that is something that they've done with Flower Girls. And for both Flower Girls and Women in Weapons, we've done a MetaJungle video on how to find rarity with gen art projects, and we'll link that in the description below, because that might be something you want to review and could be helpful for you, because we've done it both ways, where you use a separate website like Rarity Tools to find the rarity, and then also to be able to do that with if it's mentioning it. So
yep, I'm glad that you're saying that, because that's honestly one of the things I really love about PFP projects too, is like finding those stills on the floor. Like you're like, holy smokes, this is like a 1,000 rarity on almost the floor. Like this is crazy, and it's so exciting to just to have that and like find that. I guess it's almost like a hidden gem.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And then too, of course, as that opportunity presents itself later on, if the project catches and things start happening, you have the opportunity to make even more on that particular piece. So another very female-focused project, and this is one that Jaden had actually talked about a long time ago, as they were starting to announce that they would be doing a project, but it's called 1989 Sisters. And just like the name mentions, there's 1,989 of these, and it's significant because it's the year that the artist was born, and it's sisters because she was actually thinking about her sister, her twin sister, whenever she created it. And the artist is Blair Brentenstein, and she is a noted fashion illustrator. She's worked with some of the most notable brands in the industry, and she has quite the following for her kind of exaggerated, almost chalk-looking drawings, and the art is really, really cool with this project. And I actually didn't know it was minting until you start getting some whale alerts in the gen art space, and that started happening. And it actually minted at a little bit higher price, but it went just like crazy. So from the mint, I bought 3 off of the secondary, and I purchased probably higher than I usually do for a gen art project that I don't really know that much about. But again, I loved the art, and it was so unique. And I really enjoyed the fashion photography, fashion illustration. So me personally, I just really, really liked it. But I've actually done really well with the project, in that I bought at 0.3 a piece, basically for the 3 I bought, and then I sold one for 1.69 and right off the bat. So I felt great, because then I have the other 2 pieces that are actually more rare, with no cost whatsoever. I actually made money on and still had the other 2 without a cost. And this has been one that has held its value really, really well, meaning that, initially the pricing was in the 0.3 range, and then for quite some time their floor was over in ETH. It was more 1.5, and for quite some time even 1.9. Right now the floor is 0.54. With 728 owners out of the 1,989 pieces. So it still is a little bit higher for the type of art it is, but I think also that is a testament to the artist behind it and the connection to her value, the value for her art in real life. The other thing that's interesting about this project is it does have several notable holders. Reese Witherspoon has been vocal about holding multiple of these pieces. She's actually used one of the PFPs as hers for a little while. Eva Longoria is also an owner, Paris Hilton. So there are some very notable people in the celebrity world that are active with this particular project. And Hello Sunshine has shared their support for the project quite often as well. So for the long term, I feel like, it's one that I like both of the pieces that I have a lot. And so, these projects kind of go through their ups and downs. So I think that, there's definitely the opportunity to be able for it to go ahead and pick up again.
Yep.
But also I could sell both of mine, most likely today, and be able to still make a profit. So.
Yeah, I've always loved the uniqueness of this collection. First, I want to point out you did forget Post Malone as a notable holder.
That is true. That is true. Thank you.
But besides that, I've always just loved how unique this project is. Down from the idea of it and the mint of it, they did you can mint 1, 3, 5 in groups, and I thought that was really cool. But I just really, really love how unique this project is and the artwork and everything. I love the team. So I'm a big fan of this project.
And so it'll be exciting to see where this one goes long term. It's been really fun to see, how different artists that, and especially the fashion illustration world has been coming into the NFT space, and getting to kind of learn about that, because that's not something that was typically on my radar. So, and we have another collection to talk about that is related to that as well. But another project that has been really, really active, especially in the spring, as the women-led projects and women-focused projects have had so much attention, is Boss Beauties. And this is, I think people are pretty familiar with Boss Beauties, because it has been really one that has been one of the top female-led projects. And it really took off a few weeks ago. NFT space. It seems like months, but just a few weeks ago, and really went from being something that had a lower price of, I bought several in the 0.5 to 0.7. I minted one, which was 0.069. And then I purchased a few others as the floor went up based on traits and really just the aesthetic. And to be honest, this was a project that I was slow to get started in, because the art just isn't my favorite.
Yep.
And I feel like this is a project that a lot of females would want to use as their PFP, and it just didn't really connect with me. It just wasn't my favorite. There are a few pieces that I liked aesthetically, but I definitely was purchasing just for the opportunity to sell. So whenever that presented itself, it was something I was happy to do. So my first one that I minted, I was kind of testing out the water, and I sold it for 0.41, just with that opportunity to be able to cover the cost of the others that I had purchased. Yep. And then from aesthetic and rarity, it's kind of a fun way to experiment and see what people are receptive to. But I purchased another one for 0.12 and sold for 1.2. Another I'd bought for 1.65 and I sold for 1.69. And then another I had bought for 0.75, and she was the one that I knew, like, aesthetically, I was like, she just had some traits that I really felt fit the people that were active with Boss Beauties, and I sold her for 2.699. And so I was really, really excited to be able to, this has been my real opportunity, my first real opportunity that I've gotten in and bought and sold, and it's really, really fun to play that as it goes up and it goes down. Obviously, it's way more fun to buy low and sell high than vice versa, but watching that opportunity and taking advantage of it is really, really fun. And so I currently am not involved. I'm not a holder of the project. I have an airdrop that they did at the time for the Super Bowl, but because I did hold at that time, and that was actually it was not an airdrop, it was a free mint that they did with their partnership with the Super Bowl, but it's still a team that's working really actively and being able to connect the NFT space with the real world space and be able to have partnerships and brands. They're doing a lot, and they have a lot of experience in that realm as well. So I think that they will definitely continue to push that envelope and make more and more available for their holders. So, and actually, this might be an interesting time to get back in because they, just like most of these other projects, their floor has gone ahead and come back down. In fact, today it's 0.88, which is still, relatively high. But when you consider that not very long ago it was holding two pretty strong, it is maybe an opportunity to look at buying back in. And again, finding those opportunities where there's rare ones on the floor. This is also a great opportunity to, get more comfortable with placing bids on items, because when times are depressed a little bit, prices are a little more depressed, people oftentimes are a little bit more receptive to taking offers that they may not have been previously.
This was one that was really cool to see. It just shows you, this was one that you saw really easily how fast the space moves.
Yes.
Because one day, like, you bought that at 0.16, and then I looked and it was like 0.25. I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then it was like 0.4, and I'm like, no. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And it was like 0.8. I was like, oh my gosh. And it happened so fast. And it was just, it was a total testament of how a team, all that can go so fast with what they're doing and with the support, and it was incredible.
I completely agree. Yeah. And this is a great example too. I feel as, just recently in the space, there's been a lot of talk about whether gen art buyers or collectors are also one-of-one art collectors, just because of some different things that have gone on with different projects. And I think for myself, a lot of the people that we interact with are photographers or artists themselves, and they're able to sell their art to kind of fund their collecting. Yep. And neither of us fall into that category. So the opportunity to trade gen art helps fund that source, because otherwise, I've purchased all the items I have collected are with my own money, and it's just money that I invest because I believe in the space. But it does, at some point, you can be limiting as to how much money you can invest if you don't have another source for funding that collecting. So, being active in the gen art space is a great way of being able, one, it's really fun, but two, it also helps me feel, have more freedom with collecting in the one-of-one space.
You said it wonderfully, because like you said, I don't have another source, so especially with the baby, I budget. So it's like, I do these ones to kind of, I believe in the space, I love the projects, but also to make a little side money, because if I'm buying a one-of-one piece, like all of my one-of-one purchases have been for me because I want them. Mm-hmm. And so they're kind of like my splurge buys. Like, I make some and then I'll spend some on pieces that I want to keep forever. And I do that with PFP projects, but not as common. Like, I find communities I want to be part of, and then I'll buy extra to make a little bit so I can also splurge on my one-of-one purchases. So
definitely. And not to say that the one-of-one pieces that I don't see long-term value, because I do, but it's more of an investment in the artist and the long-term value for that collection. And so I look at it more from the viewpoint that with a Gen Art project, there's probably could be the opportunity for more immediate liquidity, and at some point in the near future, there will be options for liquidity in different ways. But at this point, that is a way of creating that funding and being able to really feel comfortable holding pieces, one-of-one pieces that I love, and supporting artists that I connect with and that I really enjoy connecting with. So
you said it wonderfully, because if I'm buying a one-of-one piece, it's because I really, really love it, and it's kind of hard for me to give it up. And that doesn't necessarily always reign true with my PFP pieces. So
yep, I agree. Well, and another project that that is related to fashion illustration that kind of came on the scene with a bit of a excitement is Eyes of Fashion, and again, a lot because of the artist, and again, so a lot of the Gen Art projects we get involved with, also the artist creates one-of-one pieces, often themselves, that may not be the actual NFT project that they are marketing at the time, but they have a strong experience with creating beautiful one-of-one pieces. But the artist for this collection, her name is Talia Zoroff, and she is also a fashion illustrator who's worked with a lot of the major brands in the fashion industry. And it's something notable about her is she's graduated from the Forbes 30 Under 30 program, and she definitely has a voice in that space. And so this is a project that's 8,888 pieces. They're very unique, and I kind of had watched it from the first time that it came on the scene and liked what I was seeing as far as how she was progressing in the space and some of the things happening with the project. I did not whitelist the project, but I did buy one off the secondary. So for those that are somewhat new to the space, the whitelist project, the whitelist opportunity is just prior to public mint, and it gives you a little bit more opportunity to not have to deal with potentially high gas prices that might happen as the public sale goes live. But you also can watch, if you're not whitelisted, you can watch that opportunity on OpenSea, because oftentimes you might be able to purchase one really close to mint. And if you feel like it's a project that it might sell out quicker, or you're not going to have the opportunity to purchase during the public mint, you can watch and usually pick one up for right around mint price. And that's what I did with this one, because it did have a lot of hype behind it, and I wasn't sure if I would be able to actually purchase one during the mint. And also, if they're limiting the number of pieces that you can mint, which this one you could only mint 3, it might give you the chance to kind of collect 2, especially if you expect the price to go up quite a bit after the mint. So I ended up with 4 of these particular ones, and I've held all of them at this time. I probably should have watched a little bit closer right after if I wanted to sell, and to be able to recoup some of the costs associated, and be able to hold them without a cost. But I didn't do that. So those are the things you learn along the way. But each of the pieces I collected are pretty unique, and I do like them. And right now, the floor is a little bit lower. So if this is a project that you're interested in being involved in, the floor is actually 0.03. They minted for, I think, 0.1. And so that definitely is down. But we've seen this with many other projects, especially the women-led projects, as that market received a lot of attention. It's not that uncommon for it to then have a dip, but that can be a great time to get into a project. So it is 0.03 right now with 3,200 holders out of the 8,888 pieces. So definitely one I'm continuing to watch and see how that progresses, but they've been working hard, being very active, meeting their roadmap. And so that's kind of the difference between a project that you give up on and a project that you don't mind being a part of, at least for me, is ones that the team is still actively working and actively growing. And from personal experience, I can tell you that, working on projects in this space can sometimes take much longer than you anticipate. And so that patience is a hard part. So.
Oh, 100%. We recently just, Rebel Society was one of the ones that we talked about in our last thing. And that was one, they did a whole mint at 0.08, didn't mint out, so they dropped it to 0.02. And then we bought in, and then it still took like another month or two. And then we just woke up one day and it was sold out, going crazy. And it was just kind of like, what? So it's crazy how fast this can happen. And I feel like a lot of the times it really just depends on the team and how hard they're pushing. So
Absolutely. So one I'm holding and excited to see how it continues. But again, I really like the fashion illustration. So it's a piece that I don't mind being involved, a project I don't mind being involved with, and pieces I don't mind holding. And another female-led project that is a really fun, whimsical one that, again, again, has a very low entry point that is Pixie Jars. And this is a project that's been around for a little while, and it actually has two separate collections that are very tied to one another. The artwork is very similar, but they have one that you can do, that you could create custom pieces. So you could actually submit characteristics that you wanted the artist to create a piece with. And then they also have just their regular gen art project. And the custom collection does have a higher price point to it, which makes sense than the regular gen art project. But I really like the art. I also like the fact that the project team was really, really involved with the community. You see them in a lot of spaces and doing a lot. And for me, with a project that might have a low price point and not just going crazy, to see that the community still active with it and supportive is a great sign to me, because it tells me that the people are passionate about the project instead of just what might be happening at the moment. And it gives you a lot more hope for the long term. So those are things that I just recognize about a team. And again, the purchase price was really low, and it was one of those opportunities where I looked at the characteristics, and there was some that were very rare at the bottom, so I actually just owned two, but 0.025 and 0.04, and they're super cute. So that was a project that I'd been watching for a while, and again, the team, you see them commenting on Twitter and also in spaces and just really out there doing something to be recognized and show support for the community. So I don't mind holding them at all, and they're really cute. So also one that is a pretty low risk to be able to get involved with.
Yeah, this is one I absolutely adore the artwork. I think it's so cute. I do not own one yet, but I have looked at them many times, and I just haven't done it yet. I don't know why. I've actually even saved some to do it, and I just haven't bought any yet. But on top of what she said, like, it's really, like, it gives you hope, too, whenever you see a community like that. But also, if you're going to be involved in a community, it's so much fun to be involved in an active, supportive community.
Yep.
So, there's so many different ones, but whenever they're taking place like that, it's actually fun. Like, you get to participate, you get to communicate, and it just really improves the whole experience, I guess, overall.
I completely agree. And it's a 5,000 piece collection, so it's not a super huge collection. Right now, the floor is 0.02, and there's 1,700 owners. But really, if you think of, they've also traded 159 ETH on secondary, and so for having a really low price point and trading that much volume, that shows that there's been a lot of people interested. So that's pretty significant for having a smaller collection and just at the price point. So that was an interesting detail, and one of those things that you can just kind of look at. If it has a really low ETH amount, if they haven't traded many on secondary, it just shows that there probably isn't a lot of interest in the project. So I don't know where it'll go, but again, super low risk and more about supporting a project in a community that I thought were doing good things in the female-led space. So, and another project that has been an interesting one, that it supports women to some degree, but it's more really about it being it's more about supporting people on a whole, but it has a female artist, which is Sanara Hayata, and this, again, the art is created to be more non-binary or non-gender specific is probably the best way to describe it. But it is based on being very supportive for a community, and they've gone a different approach for building the support, which I like a lot. Yep. So it's a lot about creating opportunities and education and being able to just give people, find out what the needs are of the community and make efforts to meet that, which I think is really encouraging. They've been doing a lot lately with Zeneca 33, who's active in the space, and also he has a project called Zen Academy, but really focused on entrepreneurship opportunities, which is something I'm passionate about. So, and I actually minted two, and this is a project that had a lot of support behind it, and they were really successful in their pre-mint. There was not very many left on the public mint because they actually did a couple different levels of pre-minting, and they committed a huge number of the 10,000 supply to that and had different levels. So I thought they did really well with that. So again, looking at paying 0.1 a piece, actually 0.2 a piece at mint, which is a little bit higher on a mint, seeing how the team had structured it and seeing really the people supporting it was something that was encouraging for me. They also did some things that were unique in that each item out of a 10,000 piece project has its own individual description. And this is the only project I know of that does that. So I thought I liked the attention to detail and also the attention to the art that they were giving. So those were some unique kind of added values. And I minted 2 and I sold 1, which was more of a mid-range ranking. And but I sold it for double what I minted it for. So the one I hold, I don't have any cost in, so that's pretty cool. And I have listed it at different times. It's a more rare one, and I like the characteristics. So again, I don't mind holding it, but if the opportunity presents itself, I will probably list and sell it at another time. So, and the floor right now is sitting at 0.19, so just basically what the mint was originally, and they have 4,900 owners, which is great out of a 10,000 piece collection. So I think they're doing a great job, and one I don't mind continuing to watch.
Yeah, this is one I don't know much about, but it's really funny because it was brought to my attention by other artists that we follow. So I think it's really cool how this goes full circle is what some of the ways that we learn about these PFP projects, because that's a question that I feel like I get asked a lot is like, how do you even find these? And I'm like, well, I'll just be looking on the artists I follow that I might own a one-of-one piece from, and then wham, bam, they're creating a PFP project, and I already know I love their art. So that was kind of what happened with this one. I wasn't familiar with it, but then I found this artist. I'm like, wow, this art's kind of cool. And then I was like, wow, she's having a PFP project. So
Yep, and there's also several artists that we follow. One-of-one artists like Marlene of Studio Irita and Hannah Chu are 2 that I really appreciate how active they are in the space, because I learn about a lot of projects like this from them. They also were really active with the Flower Girls, and because the Flower Girls did a art competition, and both of them participated in actually won different levels of the contest and everything. But so it's great to see when projects do that as much as they do. And it's also a great opportunity for one-of-one artists on the marketing side to participate with these larger projects, because they just have a bigger reach. So for instance, if you have an opportunity to be presented to 4,900 people by a project, that's pretty cool. If they have 4,900 owners and you're involved with that project, they're going to be seeing your name and recognizing your artwork. So there are several projects that are great about that. And I've mentioned this before, but with Women and Weapons and Hannah Chu, that's how I found her art and got to see the interaction and learn about kind of how Hannah operates as an artist and with her involvement with their patron wallet. And so that is something that, for one-of-one artists, both photographers and digital artists, I feel like understanding that connection a little bit could be a really cool marketing opportunity for them.
Yeah, because that's how I'm introduced to a lot, but it's also really cool as an owner of these PFP projects to kind of say that we normally get in collecting these pieces too. So that's really cool. Like Rebel Society is one I brought up earlier, and they're actually starting their collecting because that was something they were going to do in their roadmap. And it was really cool to see all the different artists that they let us choose, because some of them were ones I already own pieces of. And I'm like, this is so cool. Like I can support an artist that I really love, but I can also learn about all these other incredible artists. So it's really cool just to really see how this all goes full circle. And like you said, it's a really great marketing idea for every kind of artist if they take the opportunity. So
Yep, absolutely. And just to mention, we have added a PFP channel in the MetaJungle Discord. So if you want to learn more about PFPs, or you also have projects that you want to share about and help educate other people about, we highly encourage you to visit that channel and chat it up with us. So if you've heard any projects today that you're interested in, or have others that you want to see if we might be aware of, we're more than happy to chat with you there. You can also leave comments down below. And we've been making changes with MetaJungle as far as the community grows and their needs and their interests grow. We want to be able to meet those and have those tools available. So there are some different things that we're doing with adding a voice channel for just regular chat. Yep. We're going to be adding in quiz nights to be able to help create a fun, just a fun activity, but also highlight different artists that are active in our community. And we've been adding several people to our mod team. We've been holding additional workshops, which have been wonderful. We've broken out and we're doing 2 AMA sessions, which is our artist feedback AMAs per week. Which has been awesome, and bringing in some additional hosts and that opportunity to learn about how to create a successful NFT collection has just been so cool. And I know that it's helped so many people people in the community really gain their confidence and also be able to have just a really great professional, presentable collection. So we love that opportunity. We've also been holding a lot of Twitter Spaces lately. So, and we're actually going to be using some of the Twitter Space recordings with our podcast, our Welcome to the NFT Jungle podcast. So be watching there. If you happen to miss out on an opportunity for joining us for a Twitter Space, for a workshop, for an AMA, always know that you can come to the YouTube channel here and we will have those recordings available for you. So it's just been, things have been going great. It's been moving really quickly and we're excited for additional opportunities.
That's something I was just talking about. It's always fun to be in a supportive, strong community, and that is what I get every day with MetaJungle. It's so fun being in there and interacting and just seeing all the information that's shared. So like Emma said, with the AMAs, not only are we doing 2 a week, we're also doing genre specific. So it's really, really cool to see the information that the hosts are sharing because they have so much vast knowledge on this. And I love it. I love getting to participate with the community every day and just seeing it grow. And it's incredible what you guys are doing. I love it.
Well, it is wonderful for sure. And so we invite you guys to join us in MetaJungle Discord if you aren't yet. Also follow us on Twitter at MetaJungle NFT because we put out all of our announcements for all of our upcoming activities there and also hold regular spaces. And you can follow me, Nifty Meta Girl, if you don't already, because I do hold some spaces that we invite the MetaJungle community to, but for collectors and different things like that. So lots happening. So we will wrap up our episode for today, and we've got some great projects to bring for you next time, some other Gen Art projects that we have been participating in and excited to talk about, and then also always purchasing new one-of-one pieces. So
Can't wait. It was fun.
Lots happening. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll look forward to next time.
Bye, guys.